So, hi, this is Saurav, and welcome to Digital Scholars. So today on my session, I have Ujjwal Gadvi. He's one of our students and also doing exceptionally well in the field of Instagram. He has two Instagram accounts where one of his accounts have crossed more than 600K followers and other is almost reaching 200K. So, welcome, Ujjwal. Such a pleasure to have you on the program today.
Thank you, sir. The pleasure is all mine. So, from watching your videos back 2 years ago to actually having a video with you, it's a great experience. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Ujjwal. Ujjwal, a quick round of introduction. Where are you from? What do you do? And how old are you?
Yes, so I'm from Mumbai. I am an MBA in marketing and I'm a chartered accountant as well. I work in a small firm as a marketing manager and I create content, which initially was my side hustle, but gradually now becoming my full-time thing. But I'm
Oh,
trying to juggle between the two. I'm 29, I'll be 30 in 20 in the coming year. So yeah, to be honest, I'm a little nervous being interviewed by you. So yes, that's about me.
awesome. Just chill. We're going to have some fun. So
Hmm.
don't be nervous.
Yes, sir.
So, Ujjwal, how did you start your content creation journey? And what was the starting point of this?
Great. So content creation had been on my mind for, I think, quite some time. I guess I procrastinated far too much. And I feel right now I'm running 5 years behind where I originally wanted to be. But I followed these two specific creators, which I believe you might be knowing. One is Divyanshu Damani, who is currently running Tag Mango, and the
Right.
other one is Deepak Parikh. These two content creators are by far one of the pivoting points behind me starting content creation. I used to
Lovely.
follow Divyanshu on YouTube back in 2020. I watched his videos and his videos inspired me beyond measure. And I started YouTube after watching him from February 2020 onwards. And I can say for sure that I didn't know how this space worked. I was too naive to understand. And I was also very impatient, which I believe I still am. But I started with YouTube and YouTube obviously did not work. It was a slow affair.
Right.
So and then the lockdown happened and the lockdown also I was one of those people who actually quit my job during the lockdown where people were desperately hunting for it. It was kind of a job where I was not evolving and I wanted an excuse to get out of it. And that's when I actually came across an ad of you which said that you were having a webinar where you were kind of distributing this course called Instagram Influencer Mastery.
Right.
Yes. So I think I was one of the initial few students of that because, and that I can say for sure that that particular course was actually responsible for me shifting from YouTube to Instagram. I decided to look at Instagram from a different perspective. Initially, I thought Instagram was all about pictures and photos. And if you want to create video content, it has to be long, it has to be at least 3 to 5 minutes, and you have to be elaborative. But then I figured that on Instagram, you can actually create 1 minute videos where you can just explain what you have to say and make something quick out of it. So why not try that? So
Right.
that's how I got into Instagram. And that this is a time where reels were not a thing. And
Right.
we were still having those video posts.
Right. The
And
regular
I
video
came,
post. Yes.
correct. So I came across this friend of mine. His name is Mudit Yadav. He recently launched his book. He was creating these short snippet videos, and he made a video on how MTR's Rava Idli was a thing which came after World War II. It was a small video, 60 seconds, and he used to run ads of that so
Hmm.
that it reached a wider audience. So I thought, okay, this is quite interesting. Let's try something like this since YouTube is not working. So that's how I got into content creation. I started creating short snippet content, and then there was this format where you make reels on in short, and there is in the center you're talking, on top and bottom you have the call to action or the
Understood.
hook for people to stick onto your video. So I learned that from creators, and that's how I gradually got into the content game, and that was the starting point. And then suddenly reels came into the picture, and I think I was 3 to 4 months late when it comes to starting reels. And this is where I speak about Deepak Parikh, I feel, was the initial few people who started making good content out of reels,
Right.
because reels, I believe, is something much more like TikTok, and I was never on TikTok. I didn't know how it worked.
Right.
So I took inspiration heavily from Divyanshu and from Deepak, and that's how I realized that okay, reels can be a platform. So in October 2020, precisely, I started making reels, and it's been, I think, more than 2 years. And I've stuck to the format of at least one reel per day, and I've stayed consistent ever since. So yeah, that's how briefly my content journey explained.
Amazing. Congratulations to you. And I'm
Thank you, sir.
sure both Deepak and Divyanshu would be really proud of you.
Yes, yes.
personally met Divyanshu, is very
Yes,
inspiring
yes,
young guy, and he's doing some great work in the industry.
exactly.
Yeah. So Ujjwal, what's your niche? How did you decide what do you want to stick on to? You have two platforms, and how do you really
Mhm.
talk about how do you juggle between these two?
So initially, I was not aware about my niche, and I think it was a blessing as well as a curse for me. I'll explain
Right.
how. So I was creating content across anything and everything initially, whatever
Right.
came to my mind. But my intention initially was to just create, no
Right.
matter what I did. I
Mhm.
had a small audience, so experimenting with a small audience is always better instead of experimenting with a big audience. So initially, I created motivational reels, which worked to some extent, and then they didn't. Then I created reels around dating and relationship, which worked to an extent, and then they didn't. And
Right.
I'm a chartered accountant, and back then I had around 2,000-ish followers,
Right.
and most of my followers across Instagram, they were CA students. So I thought, okay, let me do something for CA students. So I learned quite a few things from my own professors, my own experience of giving exams, my own experience of studying. So I tried to make, and at that point, reels were of only 30 seconds. So we
Right.
didn't have the liberty of 90 seconds. So in 30 seconds, I used to make these monologue reels where from second 1 to second 30th, I'm just talking, I'm just sharing what I have to share, and then I move. So that's when one of my reels went crazy viral. For me, it reached around 110K plays, which was a big number for me back then,
Right.
where none of my videos were crossing 10K, including ads. And this
Right.
one crossed 110K without anything. So
Right.
that was a breakthrough for me. So this is where I got an evidence that, okay, my reels are working.
Right.
And once you get that evidence, then putting in extra hard work is always better because you have an evidence that reel chal sakta hai.
Right.
So I
You get that confidence that okay,
exactly
finally it's a validation that people look forward to. So you get that
correct.
validation and then you start giving more because you think that you're now validated. Right. So yes.
Correct. So I that was my intention. And then slowly, my mother kind of nudged me into the direction of spirituality. She was like, why don't you make around spirituality now? Because it's lockdown, people are really upset, people are going through a lot. So why don't educate them a little bit around spirituality? Because my mother is extremely very spiritual.
Right.
She's a very exalted devotee. So she believes in spreading that devotion across people. So
That's nice.
she taught me to go into that direction. And then slowly I got into that. And that one gave me probably the biggest push which I could have ever had. So gradually I made reels around Bhagavad Gita and Mahabharata and Ramayana, which I also personally read about and watch a lot. So I had content ready. And one thing which I observed is that if you share something which people don't already know, number one, and if you share something which is something which can help people, and number three, if you share something which people instantly watch and see, yaar, isko share karna hi padega, I have to share this. If you have something like that in your content, then it's a win.
Right.
And I personally feel that there was a big hand of luck or fortune or God, whatever you call it, behind my success. I feel I was in the right place at the right time with the right video on multiple counts, which is why multiple of my videos boomed. And one thing was that when I spoke about spirituality, I was not just speaking about spirituality, but I was kind of fusing it with a material or a fictional aspect. Like for
Right.
example, there was this one reel which I made around Lord Hanuman, and there is a verse in Hanuman Chalisa which says that Hanumanji has 8 siddhis, Ashta siddhis, or 8 superpowers. Now, these superpowers are very much common with what modern day superheroes like the Avengers have. Very similar. And I figured that
Right.
these 8 superpowers of Hanumanji were a lot similar to what the modern day superheroes exhibit in the modern day movies. Now, these are fictional, but Hanumanji is real. So I tried to fuse them and explain it in a way where it sounds really very out of the box and something which people don't regularly see. So
Right.
that one of my video that went crazy viral. It also got featured on a news channel which I didn't know anything about. So that currently stands at 5.9 million views, and that was responsible for my immediate jump. So because of that video, I shot up from around 66K followers to around 90K followers. So that was one boom. And gradually I collaborated with a few creators. There was this one creator who I collabed with. Her name is Drishti Sharma. Very good creator, one of the best ones I know. And the one reel which I did with her, which is a collaborative reel, that went a bit viral, which was material, which was about interview tricks. And
Right.
that kind of boosted me to a point where I reached around 140K followers.
Wow.
Now,
Lovely. That is great.
140K, Thank you, sir. So 140K followers was by far one of my biggest full stops, and I was not able to move beyond this. I
Yeah,
tried multiple things,
it
everything
happens.
failed, it was not working, and I just felt that the algorithm has given up on me, which I think happened for a good reason, for a good cause. And beyond that point, it was very difficult for me to move. I
Yeah,
was creating different content styles. So my niche eventually became of spirituality, and it was benefiting me as well, but also stagnating my growth. And this is the point where I figured that I have to do something. So this was a disruption. And whenever you get, I saw something about this just today. Whenever you get a disruption, it is necessary you make something out of that disruption, because every disruption is rather an opportunity.
true.
So, uh,
Every
at
disruption
yes,
gives
sir, sorry.
you every disruption gives you the scope to contemplate even more and
Exactly.
think
Hmm.
deeper and do a lot more. In fact, give a lot more. Either do
Exactly, sir.
either do more or die. This is what we decide.
Hmm. So I think I just saw a verse. I just take a minute. There was this verse that it's actually do or die, but some people do and then die, and some people don't die until they do it.
Right,
So disruption is rather meant to make you that the third type. Don't die before you do it.
right.
Yes, sir. So in this disruption, I'll just take 2 more minutes to describe how I created my finance page now.
Please go
Which
ahead. Yeah,
so the finance page was a rather very, I don't know, a stroke of luck, or I was in the right place at the right time, whatever you call it. But it kind of boomed only in the last 4 or 5 months. So the point it took me to reach 190K on my original page was around 1.5 year. And using that, I figured that I cannot push my finance content over here, because me trying to put finance content on my spiritual page was like were sharing quick bites around finance and doing stuff like that. So I decided to venture into those kind of things. And
right.
I'm a deep admirer of this particular book. I'm sitting with me. It's called Steal Like an Artist. I feel this book has been responsible for my growth on my second page. I'm deep admirer of this book and its content. So I take bits and pieces across multiple creators, and I add my own flavor to it, and I figure what is something which is missing, or what is something I can do better in that content, and I try to make something out of thin air and present it in my own way. So I think
Makes
that
sense.
worked. That worked well, and I think that was responsible for my other page. So I honestly felt that right now growing on Instagram is easier than ever as compared to other platforms. I'm
True.
on YouTube as well. It took me 2 years to grow on YouTube, but it took me less than 2 months to grow on my second Instagram page.
Right.
So I've in fact created a third one as well now, and I'm trying my luck with that. But yeah, that's been my journey with Instagram. But I can definitely say I've been in the right place at the right time for multiple counts.
Amazing,
Yes.
Ujjwal. Amazing. I like that spirit. You have a third Instagram account, and all the best for your third one
Thank
now.
you, sir.
What's the
Mhm.
camera and mic you use, Ujjwal?
So I am using my this is an iPhone 11. This is the camera I'm using, and the mic I have is Boya BY-M1, and I have that external mic adapter to make it compatible with the iPhone. That's my gear. I haven't invested much in my gear, and I like to keep it very simple. I'll tell you why. Because when I was starting with my YouTube journey back in 2020, for a month, I was just experimenting and trying to research what gear to use, which mic to use, which camera to use, which this, which that.
Right.
But quite frankly, I'm not tech savvy. I just know how to click videos. I know how to do basic editing,
Right.
and on my finance page, I edit my own videos. I barely give it outsourcing, because
Right.
I keep it simple. And I think one thing which has helped me is that I've kept it simple. So it has been simple, it has been to the point, but
Ujjwal,
I
I
make
can't.
sure the camera which I'm using is iPhone 11. I bought it around a year and a half back. It's been working just fine. My microphone is Boya BY-M1, which I learned from you only. I think you've mentioned in one of your videos that this is the
Yes.
mic to take. It's quite affordable, quite cheap, and it does the job really well.
True.
And one thing which has helped me, I believe, is that I've kept things very simple. I have not invested much in gear, equipment, and all that, because first, I don't really have time to manage it because I'm juggling it with my job and all this. I just have time to shoot. I shoot videos on the go and I give them for editing, and my editor takes care of it. But my finance page, that is where the videos I edit myself, because I think the fact that I've kept it so simple and not something extraordinary is which has helped me. And I use InShot, which I believe you only advocated that InShot is one of the best apps to use for editing. So yeah, my editing bit is very simple. It's not very complicated. And when I was entering my content creation journey back in February 2020, before that, for a month, I had done my research. Ki ye camera hai, this is the camera, this is the lens. I had not even shot one video. And I decided, okay, I had a simple Vivo phone back then. And I was like, okay, I have a Vivo phone. I have a JBL earphone, which has a mic. Let me just buy a camera stand and start shooting videos. Let me just start off with something. Ironically, in my first ever video, I was speaking like this. Camera was here and I was looking at this way because I was too conscious looking at the camera. But then it evolved over time. But yes, at present, I'm not looking forward to investing in much gear either, because I feel the simpler it is, the easier it is. And the more difficult you make things, the more you tend to procrastinate. The simpler it is, the easier the job gets done. Yes, so that's my answer.
Awesome. That sounds great. So how did you overcome your camera fear? Is it the practice?
It's just the practice. Like I don't know how many reels I've made so far. I can't even count. More than 100 or 200, I guess. But with every reel, I think things got better. Like
Awesome.
during my initial reels also, I was very conscious, but now it's just a regular thing. It comes with practice. 2 years of it. I still feel that after 2 years, when I might have made more reels, I think my camera confidence would be a little bit more than it is right now. So it's all about practice and consistency.
Awesome. So, Ujjwal, what's your biggest takeaway from IIM? You did the Instagram Influencer Mastery course. So, what was your biggest takeaway from that?
So I think the biggest takeaway was that the course actually convinced me to come from YouTube to Instagram. One thing is that number one, it highlights the fact how simple Instagram is. And if you want to grow either as a personal brand or as a business or as an influencer or whatever, being on Instagram is an absolute necessity. Like it's not like you can be a big thing in the world and you're not on Instagram. Like
Right.
everybody's on Instagram. Instagram is like the root. First
Right.
you are here and then you are everywhere else.
Right.
And I was kind of missing out on that. So I think it compelled me to build a base on Instagram. And second, editing videos. I was using InShot. It's a crazy story actually. I did my MBA in marketing. I was at a college, and this one thing was that I was actually running a meme page around my college.
Right.
No, not many people know this, but I used to do a lot of editing. I used to share inside stories and jokes, and around that, that kind of made me a popular face in college and enabled me to build networks with people and interact with others as well. So I knew basics about editing, but then I figured that editing can be improved using apps like InShot or stuff like that. So it kind of enables you to become an editor as well, and from the scratch, how you can edit videos, what you can do, and all that. That's number two. And third, as I said earlier, growing on Instagram right now is the simplest as compared to any other platform. If you give it 1 month of consistency, perhaps after a month, you can see something. So I can say that one of the building blocks of my journey as an influencer so far has been Instagram influencer mastery. And that's my biggest takeaway.
Awesome. Thank you, Ujjwal. Ujjwal, so what's your biggest advice to people who are starting now? This is the last question that I have for you. What would be that?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
My biggest advice who are starting is just to start.
Nice.
That's it, just to start. Because I personally would say this because I took a lot of time to start.
Right.
And that's why I feel I always get this complex that I'm late, I'm rushed into. I didn't start earlier. I could have been something bigger if I started earlier.
Right.
So the advice is only to start. And to quote from one of Divyanshu's videos only, he said that starting is by far one of the most difficult thing to do.
True.
Because we are either thinking or we are trying to search for the perfect start. And a perfect start is a myth.
True.
There is either a start is always the most difficult. Like
True.
when you start, it's always important that you start with a failure.
Right.
Because that kind of widens your perspective. Second is that, sorry, you were saying something?
No, go ahead. Listening.
Yes, sir. So second is that no matter what niche you are following, may it be finance, maybe marketing, maybe entertainment, whatever, just have a look out for the people who are doing good in your niche.
Right.
Like if you are looking out for finance, you can follow people like Anushka Rathod or Finance with Sharan. If you are going into digital marketing, you can follow people like Avi Arya or Saurabh Jain who are already doing something big. If you are looking for entertainment, maybe in those niche, and you can see what these people are doing. And initially, when you don't have ideas, when you don't know what to do, you can just try to get ideas from their work add your own flavor to it and try to present it. That's by far the best way of making content and best way of making reels. If you don't have ideas, if you have your own ideas, well and good. And third, just try to be consistent. Initially, when we have this boost of motivation, we are like, we'll do this, we'll do that, we'll do everything. After a couple of days, a couple of weeks at max, this motivation fades.
True.
So I have this one rule whenever I'm starting something new, any content source. I learned it from Mr. Manish Pandey. He mentioned this somewhere, that give it just 30 days, 30 videos. That's it.
True.
Instagram, 30 days, 30 reels. No pause. And don't look at the numbers. This is how I started both my pages. I just made a reel, I posted it, and I went blank. I don't even see how the reel worked. Like before this one also, before our chat, I had a reel to post around 8 o'clock. That's why I was a couple of minutes late. I posted that reel and then I logged on, and I haven't seen the reel ever since. And I probably won't see it for the next 10, 15 minutes either.
Awesome.
So just post it, don't see the results. Post it, don't see the results. And that's how you will gain the confidence, because the initial numbers will always be disappointing. They will always be disappointing. And that's not something you need to chase initially. But yes, if you give it 30 days, then after 30th day, there will be at least something. There will be at least some growth, or you as a content creator would have learned something out of those 30 days and 30 videos. So that will give you a better perspective.
Right. Awesome. So
likewise, sir. Thank you so much.
One question that people will be curious to know, this just on the ending note, you may want to,
please.
How much have you made out of your journey by far?
Made as in, sir, I didn't get you.
How much have you earned in this journey?
Achha, in terms of monetary, in terms of monetization, initially it's going to be zero, at least until you get to around 30 to 40K followers. Right. But I would say that in terms of monetization, you can say on an average every month, Instagram, by means of brand deals, which currently I'm focusing on. I'm not getting time to work on my courses or my own products as of late. But easily 1 lakh per month is something you can guarantee out of Instagram if you have a good name for yourself. But more than the brands, it's more about what you represent on Instagram. Like, for example, 1 lakh per month is easily earnable. And I can say this because I have done it. But it's also about what exactly you as a person are endorsing on Instagram. Like I'll just share a personal experience. There was this one brand which I worked with, and I won't disclose the name, of course, but I worked with them, and I got to know from a few friends of mine that they have terrible reviews. They're not working. And one of my acquaintances, she told me that she's had a terrible experience with the brand. And ever since that point, even though the brand has been willing to offer me a good sum, I have refused to work with that brand because I've had negative reviews and my followers have told me that it's not working.
Awesome.
So regardless of the monetization opportunities that you get, it's also about who you are representing yourself on Instagram and how you are portraying yourself to be. So don't endorse or don't work with something unless you actually and truly believe in it. So that's something more than the monetization, which I would like to say.
Okay, Ujjwal, thank you so much
for
those inputs and a pleasure hosting you.
I'm sorry. I think I spoke a lot. I'm sorry if I spoke out of turn or spoke a lot too much than I should have. But thank you so much for having me, sir. It was great.
Don't judge yourself. It was just fun. So there was a
Likewise, sir. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Bye.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.